I get a ton of questions about my bow setup. I figured today I'd just run through my setup, why I got the things on here that I have, the way that I like it for Western big game hunting, and just run through the whole thing. So I got the Mathews V3X. One thing that I really like about this bow is how integrated everything is, because when I choose a bow, it's all based on hunting. That's all I care about. My hunting style, spot and stock, Western big game, and I think this bow is very well suited for that. I want something that's super quiet, but also dead in hand, steady in the wind, steady on angles and for those longer shots. So this bow kind of checks all the boxes in that category. I've got for the rest, the Mathews integrated rest. It's just in the riser here. And then I use the bridge lock with my sight. I've got the Fast Eddy XL from Spot Hog, and I use the double pin, so it's got two indicators, and then those two ranges are set here, so I know when I move it what each range is. I really like that because I get a better sight picture than the multi-pins. When I'm walking around, I generally have my sight, my top pin set at 35 yards, and that allows me, without adjusting anything, to shoot efficiently out to 50 to 55 yards, from like 0 to 50 yards without doing anything. So if I come upon something or something happens fast, I don't have to even make any adjustments. Then if I gotta make a precision shot, I can adjust my top pin exactly where I want it. Now with the bridge lock, your just sight rail goes right into the center of the riser, and that allows the quiver to be super tight up against the bow, which is really good for the kind of hunting I do, because it's windy. Even where I practice here at the range, it's always windy. Having everything sucked into the bow really helps me keep the bow stable in the wind. I decided to go with the 33. I like a longer axle to axle bow. It's personal preference for a couple reasons. I like the string angle a little bit less steep, and I also like the fact that it's a little easier to hold steady, especially, you know, Western big game hunting. You might have to take a further shot, 50 yards, something like that. It's super dead in hand, it's steady, and I can make those shots super efficient. I've got a fairly long draw length, so I've got it set at 30-inch draw and 75 pounds. I've got a couple twists in the string, so that increases the poundage to close to 80 pounds. My Aero setup, I like a heavy setup on everything, so with a little bit more poundage, I can get these heavy arrows going really good speed, and I get great penetration. I'm using the Day 6 HD 275s, so they're 11.8 grains per inch, and I've got 125 grain Evo broadhead on the top. The two blades really good, because if I hit an elk, I get an entrance and an exit, whether I hit it in the shoulder or what have you. My entire, with the broadhead, my entire Aero setup weight is 580 grains, and then I've got 4 fletchings on there to help stabilize that 2-blade broadhead. So they're just AAE hybrid vanes, and with those 2 blades, you need a lot less energy to get really good penetration. So it's all about making a good shot and then getting a pass through on those bigger animals like elk. Or if you hit the shoulder, air into the shoulder side when they're coming in, you know, quartering to, I know that I'm gonna make a lethal shot whatever angle that bigger animal's at, especially when it's close. So I really like this entire setup. I just got an 8-inch stabilizer on here, a little bit of a wrist strap. And then when it comes to my release, I think I've had this Scott. It's like a Scott Mongoose. Had it for about 15 years. It's the only one I've had. I do have a backup, but I don't even know where the backup is. I just keep this one on every bow that I'm shooting. It's old, but I like having my release on my wrist, especially because doing a lot of self-filming, I can tuck it in here, and it's out of the way. It's always there, and I don't have to mess around with it, or when I'm holding a camera, tripod, self-filming. I've just found that that's good. I know some people get a little bit of target panic using an index or trigger finger release. I kind of shoot this more like back tension, where I have my fingers in a position and continually pull back, so I still get that surprise release even with this index release on. And I find it really good for hunting. So like I said, my entire setup's built for Western big game hunting. I like how streamlined and quiet the setup is with less moving parts. It's just a super silent setup. Everything's real tight to the bow, so it's easy to hold in wind for longer shots. And overall, I think it's an incredible setup for the type of hunting that I like to do.